Welcome to Burn the Ship. Our goal of Burn the Ship is to connect entrepreneurs or professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talk the talk, experience all the things that we experience as small business owners. And we try to package those experiences up and some of those skills and teach them to you guys. We've been very gracious to have or very lucky to have a gracious network of people that are always willing to share their experiences, share their ups and downs, and hopefully help you guys walk a little bit straighter, cleaner, easier path on the road to running a successful small business. So thank you, Peter, for coming. I appreciate it very much. Anybody that sets apart the time and gives a little bit of effort to our audience means a lot. It goes a long way. So I appreciate that very much for you up front. Thank you again. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. Honored to be here with you and your community of leaders and business owners at all stages, and happy to share what I have learned so far, knowing that for all of us, it's as important to be a student as much as a leader, right? So personally, we are Northeast transplants. Grew up in New England, been down here in Atlanta, Georgia, 29 years. Married 33 years, three adult kids, split our time between high-rise life in Midtown Atlanta and our lake house about an hour north. We're really active and try to stay healthy and try to fight gravity wherever we can. So that's personally. Professionally, I'm on kind of phase three, Bailey, of my career. Started out phase one, I guess, was 25 years or so in the wealth management, financial advisory industry. First as a financial advisor, actually serving small business owners. So I kind of cut my teeth on really understanding how businesses work. A lot of them were Italian business owners, restaurant owners in the north end of Boston, and really learned a lot about what it looks like from that perspective. I got turned on by leadership, and I built a lot of organizations. And last 10 years, I was a senior VP running a big field force of 5,000 plus financial advisors. So that was phase one. Phase two, I retired from that world at 49. Tried to retire, tried to fish and play golf, and I was horribly bored within probably a month, and that might be longer than I was. So I realized real quickly that I love to work, I love to add value, I love to build things, and so I went quickly into a consulting career. Spent probably 5, 10 years helping business owners, got involved in probably 25 startups and operating roles and board seat roles, consultants and advisors to CEOs. Had some liquidation events, was very grateful for that in some cases with some of my best friends that built businesses from napkin to success and exits. And a few I'm still involved in, and there's more exits ahead. And so that that was a really fun phase. I kind of view phase two of being my put in the law of 10,000 hours,
Yeah.
in
Becoming a
that space.
master of that small business world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And though I played very active roles, I hadn't really started something myself other than my consulting business from soup to nuts. And so about halfway through that journey, I said, you know what? I really want to start something myself. And I've always been passionate about helping other people, businesses, financial advisors build referral-based businesses. And I know everybody wants a referral-based business, but most business owners don't do all the key things to the key behaviors to build one. So I said, you know what? There's got to be a technology solution out there that helps a business owner do it easier, better, faster, more authentically. And there wasn't. And so I said, that's the space. So what a great opportunity for me to combine my passion and what I did prior, kind of the old world of training people how to ask, have the courage, the skill set, the system to build referrals and to both produce them and convert them, and then work with a great team of technologists and then build a company around making all that much easier. So built a company called ReferMe IQ. I'm founder, CEO of it. We're probably 8 years into it, seeing some nice scaling and We, in essence, help any small, large, medium-sized business both produce and convert referrals, but also helping the leaders build a referral culture by implementing foundational automated software that turnkeys all the key behaviors that most people avoid. So that's kind of my background in a nutshell, and that's where I spend most of my time today.
Sure. Well, I think that really this conversation is beneficial from two perspectives, right? Because you learn a lot as a CEO, but you also learn a lot as someone that works with a bunch of small businesses. So your past lives before this, I think, are very relevant to the journey that the people that are listening now are experiencing. And then for people like myself, other salespeople, people that within our existing network, I think the most beneficial thing we could talk about is kind of diving into your solution a little bit. Is how did you kind of identify some of those problems, and really what is that solution like? Because I think everyone knows that more referrals for your business makes you a stronger business. You enjoy doing those types of jobs more. Usually they come with a higher average ticket a lot of times, depending on the circle that you run in. But just tell me some of the assumptions that you guys made and how you began to combat them over the last 8-ish years.
Yeah, that's a great question, and certainly important to any business because to me, when you start something, and I know a lot of people in your audience are at a stage where they have an idea or a napkin idea or a vision, but they're trying to get their head wrapped around what do I do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then to know if it does not work, if the horse is dead, when I should get off of it, and if you see evidence that says the opportunity is really there, how to put more chips down on it. So, the way I kind of processed that personally and the way I did was one, is there a problem that matters enough to spend the time to try to solve it? So size really does matter when it comes to size of the problem. And so I saw two big problems out there after we spent millions back in the day training people, leadership, scripting, role playing, everything to try to get a human to ask for referrals, to incent people and motivate relationships to refer, to make sure there's a proper introduction, to make sure the referral becomes interested prior to making contact, and then to try to create an environment where it's natural and organic for a referral to raise their hand and say, I want to meet with you. The trust has been transferred and I'm properly disrupted. Those are, in essence, the key behaviors of referral success. So, problem one that I saw was firsthand. It's really hard for a sales professional, a producer, an insurance agent, financial advisor, small business owner. It's very hard for people to even ask for referrals. 91% of consumers would refer if asked, but less than 10% of sales pros of any type actually ask for referrals. So I said, wow, that's staggering. You've got all these people out there that want to be introduced to a company or a service through referrals. You got all these people here that have a solution to their problems, but why aren't people asking for referrals? And it's because it's hard. Requires skill, courage, a system. Most businesses don't have it. So I said, wow. So how do we create a system that maybe does all those things that a human should do, but avoids? That was problem one. And then problem two, you roll that up to a larger business, 10 plus people. And then you see all these companies are struggling to acquire new clients at the least costly way and the least effort. And they know referrals is the way to do it. It produces 400% better conversion than any lead source. So problem two is people struggling. And the reason firms struggle is that to really do great at referrals just requires too many people to change too much behavior.
Mm.
So when I looked at those two problems, and then I said, wow, is anybody solving this when you see a void that you just get excited about and that you can solve? You just run really fast into that void, into that abyss. And it is an abyss because you don't really know until you're doing it for a bit whether it's going to be successful. So you have to have grit, fortitude, and you've got to be able to see it. When I sized all of that, and I said, "Wow, if I just look at four of our markets and we only penetrate 1% of those markets, that's $1 billion company." when you size it out. So I said, wow, that's significant enough for me to put the time. I played banker and bootstrapped it in the first few years. I wanted to make sure I put my money where my mouth was and not taking any other money until I knew this could work. And we have done a small seed round, and we're in that process now of getting some growth capital. For me, it was about, is it something that I have the energy to go deep on? Problem, what is it? Is it large enough? Do I think I could solve it? And then when you see those conditions, you just run, run, run until you either the horse is dead and you got to get off of it, or you start seeing potential and you're constantly adapting for what you need to do to optimize the business and grow it.
Yeah, for sure. So, tell me kind of your highlight reel? Like, what are some of the success stories that you've seen now working with some organizations to implement your technology?
Yeah, the thing I'm most proud of is results of our clients. We have enterprise dashboards, for example. I spoke at a NAFA meeting on Wednesday to about 100 people, and one of our enterprise clients was there in the audience. And they signed up initially a pilot of 10 financial advisors. And over the last 3 months, we've produced over 100 new sales opportunities through referrals for that group. They put in so far about 10 grand into the platform cost wise, and they've produced well over 200,000 in revenue in a very short time. So, that's an example. But more importantly, what they're starting to see is the buzz we all want when we try to build a culture of some type. And if you're trying to build a sustainable, repeatable referral culture, Bailey, you know this. You need all hands on deck. And you got to get people talking about it, people starting to, in everything they do, thinking, how do I become referables? Because I add so much value to the people that I serve. How do I have a system that makes 80% of what I should do but don't do easy and does it for you so I can focus on, the important human to human interaction. But it makes it so much easier for people to ask for referrals. And that's probably, the part two, other than just the practical results that we can prove through showing our dashboards to people. And we have dashboards galore because why would any, owner do anything that they don't see a clear line of sight to ROI? But beyond that, what most people find is it's so much easier to ask people for a referral when you can default to a system.
Sure.
So to be able to say, hey, look, every other week or every month, you're going to get an email or text from me. And from time to time, I'm going to pop into your head as far as people that you care about, that you want to add value to. And when that happens, we make it ridiculously easy. You're going to get an email from me. It'll have some link to some value add. And all you have to do is push a button and put their first name, last name, and email address in there. And that's it. And everything we do is personal and confidential. That's all somebody has to do. And then their clients, their network, their strategic partners get these emails and texts that look like somebody hand typed it. They all get through the spam filters. They all get opened and clicked on and acted upon, and it produces a lot of referrals. And the biggest complaint we hear is, "Can I shut this off a little bit because I have too many people to see
Hmm.
next week, and I don't want to work that hard."
Sure. Yeah, what a complaint.
Yeah.
You coming from the financial advice world and me coming from the credit card processing world, I doubt we can relate. Um, we live in a different world. The referrals, the ability to tap into your existing market and your existing network of people is everything in my industry, and definitely much, maybe even more so in the financial world, because you may refer me to the next person over to you in the shopping mall, but your business isn't necessarily on site. You know what I mean? Like when you're in the financial world, I mean, it's like you're asking for a referral to someone, maybe a high net worth individual that they're connected to. Like you never know what it is that you're actually asking for. And my company does well to, like, what we do well is we ask for referrals very well. What we don't do is track it. we don't track it very well, which I can also see is probably an issue there too. Is like, how much easier would business be and feel when you realize how much more productive the ability to ask for referrals and the ability to be valuable in those relationships is. So I can relate to that from a salesperson perspective, that being able to track and being able to automate the reaching out of people existing in your network. Like, I've been in this industry, for the better part of a decade, and if I
Hmm.
had that slow drip to the people that were already in my, conceived network of whatever that I had built, my business would be in a totally different place. And I can say that from my own personal experience, not even to vouch for your product, but I can vouch for the problem, right? Because we do extensive teach you how to ask for referrals, though, because we are very aware that that's a difficult thing for sales reps. So we focus on that a lot early on, which probably makes us pretty rare considered to other people. But yeah, tracking those things and being able to automate those things is extraordinarily valuable for the owner of a company to see more revenue, but especially for salespeople. You have so many things to do, right? You're busy people. You should be if you're doing your job well, So I
Hope
can,
that they are, right?
oh yeah, I can relate to the problem for sure.
Yeah, and there's so much in what you just said, Bailey, and congratulations on what you all do there and how you weave that into what you do in these podcasts. But at the end of the day, you're absolutely right, and I would extend it to any business. The greatest currency and asset are relationships, and not
Absolutely.
just clients, but your network, the community, that you have, and the average successful person, because people generally don't start something on their own and put themselves at that kind of risk unless they've got some success prior doing something. So you have a bunch of successful people out there starting, running, and trying to scale a business. And they know they've got all these layers of relationships, right? Past clients, people from the past, family, friends, community people. And the challenge we all have. I mean, I've got 18,000 LinkedIn contacts. So the problem we all have is we know that if we could just have like a 10 minute, minute lunch or coffee with somebody face to face, where we, share a bit about our business, learn a bit about their business, and then, ask, hey, how can I help you? How can I add value to you? And then, is there anybody else that like you, that I could also add value to? We just did that times X amount of times per week. That's all anybody would have to do. The problem is we don't do that because we can't do it. We can't find a way to reach all of those people. So you need a system to do it at scale that actually looks like that. It's personal, authentic, sounds like you, looks like you, has the messaging built in that you would want in there. And that's what we built, is a system to do all that at scale. So people come to you and say, hey, I'd like to meet with you, Bailey, or I show up in your calendar as a result. So that is so important. Relationships are critical, and we've got to have them, nurture them, add value to them, stay in touch with them. In fact, the three big things that lead to any of us being referable: one is contacting people enough, often enough. So it's a, contact sport, anything we build. Second is we have to add value and solve problems for people. And then the third is we've got to have certain values that align with them. And the main ones to be referable is we have to show up on time. We've got to do what we say. We got to say please and thank you. And we got to finish what we start. If we do those four things, we're in contact with people and we add value along the way, we're going to be referable. But that's not enough. You need a system then to kick in once you're referable, that creates a natural, authentic plan and path for people to actually refer. We got to make it easy. It is way too hard for most people.
Oh yeah, for sure. From an entrepreneur perspective of your own walk through this business, what do you feel like you guys have done very well that has helped you grow?
Yeah, I think there's been a few things that we've done uh, particularly well. I think there's a lot we've done well, but I think there's three that stands out. One is I think we have a fantastic team. Most of the people on my team either I've known my whole life, or their family or the people that have worked with me or for me. And we are really clear on what team looks like and how to support each other, how to be accountable to one another. And we're very clear on who we are, where we're going, and what the plan is to get there. So, to me, if you don't assemble a great team, that's probably the most important role of any founder or CEO initially, is to put together at least the initial
Oh yeah.
team. May not be the ultimate team and likely won't be, but to get that team of people that there's trust, there's values alignment, there's mission alignment. So we've got a great group of people that I trust to do their job, do it the right way, and treat each other the right way along the way. So that's kind of first and foremost. Second is I think we've built, I think we've worked. It took a while to get there, but I think we found the formula to our product roadmap in terms of building the technology so that it works, it can scale, and we're very aggressive with quarterly releases from input from our clients. So from the IT perspective, we've built something that has a lot of legs. And part of that build was becoming, what I call, I'm not sure this is formal, but that we are now and have been for a while enterprise ready, meaning we can implement this across a Fortune 5 company. We can implement this, from an IT security, from a compliance perspective in the, highly regulated financial advisory and wealth management space and insurance space. There are things you need to do to get approved by a big company as a vendor. And we've put all those things in place. We've made intentional investments to make sure that all that happens. So team, IT, and then probably the third thing is you've got to be able to pivot and adapt when you hit a wall. And we've done a lot of test and learn. And we've taken things from an MVP concept to, in some cases, point of arrival, in some case, someplace between. But I don't think there's anything we have that was exactly the original design. I mean, you've got to be able to know when something isn't working and, get off of that horse. But then you've got to know, you got to be able to see some of the subtle signs of something can work. And probably before you're comfortable, put some more chips down on that thing just to see if you put some pressure on it, if it actually holds up, whether it's, your online marketing plan, which today requires a ton of test and learn and takes a good, couple, 3 years to get your act together with that. Or whether it's the technology where you've got to test the market and see, we think something could be valuable. And even me with, 30 plus years of experience, some of the things I thought would be big hits with our clients were like, no, this isn't really doing it for me. But if you had this, that would be amazing. And then it's like, wow, how come I didn't think of that? And you've got to be able to quickly change to things like that. So, being nimble, adapting, growing it on feedback from the people who use it, and trusting people on your team who are closest to the work to make sure that you, as founder and CEO, see what you should see. So you're not the emperor with the clothes
Right.
off kind of guy thinking you know something when you really don't, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the thing that aligns with all three of those ideals too, from building your team, from building your solution to be scalable at a large scale, and then from being able to adapt at a moment's notice, all of those things are very they're geared toward, let me think of the best way to say this exactly, but it's kind of beginning with the end in mind. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like starting very rooted in your why you do what you do, and then putting together the pieces to figure out exactly how you're going to do it. I think that a big thing that is a barrier in small business to people that are interested in being entrepreneurs is that people get so focused on the how that maybe you forget to start with your why. You're so focused in what you can or cannot do technically that you forget about the actual problem that you're trying to solve, and you do things that are unrelated to the things that create revenue for you. And the team should be assembled like the Avengers. Everyone has their own role. Everyone understands what their role is clearly, and we all work towards solving this same problem. And we identify problems as they get there, and we adapt to those problems, and we always continue to keep the end in mind. Like, this solution needs to be able to function in this type of environment for us to be as successful as possible in a company, right? So, like, all three of those things play together very closely in a sandbox, and it comes down to a lot of the culture and the goals of the leadership. So no, I think that having a clear vision over everything is something that you guys did well. Is just had a very clear vision of what it looks like to be a technology company working with the very specific types of clients that are best for you to solve a very, very specific problem. I think that that root that you have in your business lends you to success a lot more than maybe people that don't know how to ask themselves those same questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and it's so true. And it's tough when you're doing all the blocking and tackling to build something. It's like we're all on the shore, and there's an island in that represents our vision, goals, dreams, of what we see, and then in between there's the swamp, right? And it's
Mm.
like when you're on the shore and you look at this island, it's crystal clear, and you see exactly what you want, and you know that this swamp is muddy, smelly. You know that in your heart. You know you're going to have grit to get through it. But it's one thing to know it, but then you're halfway through it at its point that's the most deep, and the mud's up to here, and you got your periscope up, and there's water and wind slapping on it, and all of a sudden all that gets kind of fuzzy or goes away. And the instinct people have at that point is to return to safety. If you take two steps back, it's going to get less deep. You don't know that if you take a few steps forward, that you might be over your head and drown. So that's that critical point where most people give up when it's like an hour before dawn, and
Right.
it's like darkest before dawn. It's like, and it takes time and experience, and there's no substitution for it. You just got to go through, a few of your own stories of the road to hell and back to know when you're at that point, and to know when to take a step forward versus going back. And once you kind of have confidence that you can at least be in the ballpark on that, when you keep going forward, because the reality is, whatever we think we have as a plan, like, within 3 years, I want this to happen. Within another 2 years, I want that to happen. The reality is, whatever was in your mind, it usually takes 2 to 3 times longer, at 2 to 3 times the cost, at 2 to 3 times the pain. And you don't quite know what form it's going to come in. So you have to kind of be like you have to have a flak vest on, where, you have to be able to keep pushing through. But, to your point, having that vision, and then when times get tough, challenging it and kind of saying, is this still real? Can this still happen? And where you answer yes, you just got to plow through that critical point of that swamp and
Oh
say,
yeah.
hey, no matter what, I'm just going to keep stepping forward. Worst case, if I start going under, I can always take a step back. But for now, or I can go this way, or I can go that way, and then try to get that vision crystal clear again. Your personal why, the why of the business. Because at the end of the day, what used to drive me crazy when I consulted a lot was seeing, the average business out there spending a fortune, spinning their wheels, fishing in the stranger pond, and just spending all this money doing all these campaigns and things, trying to get, and chasing leads, and seeing people burnt out doing that, and firms going under because they run out of dough. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Fish in the relationship pond. And I love to fish. I'm a big fly fisherman. And so I relate things to that. I'm like, if I want to catch a tarpon, I'm not going to go to my lake where my lake house is to catch a tarpon. I'm going to go to a place where there's tarpon.
Right.
And I've got a shot to catch them. And with them, as you know, or you might not. I mean, it's like you got one or two shots, and you got to be right on. But it's an assassin game. And so, we have these layers of relationships that you've built trust with, and you've spent your career and life doing it, they're the ones that can bring you to your best clients, or they can become your best clients. Do that reasonably well, or have a system that does, and life becomes, much easier. At the end of the day, isn't that what we want? We all want to have more fun, make more, build more wealth, help more people, and do it in a whole lot less time so we can play and play as hard as we work. And that's what you get when you work through referrals, because all three of the vital statistics that you have in your world or I have in my world, which is activity times conversion times sale size, referrals drives all three. So why not focus on things to get leverage? And a system can help a business do that. So I see that so clearly. So I want to get our software, in the hands of millions of businesses, because I know that's the way I personally can make a difference. And then if I do that well and have some exits as I've experienced, then I get to make a difference with my team who are playing hard with me to do that. And I can have them build some wealth, whether it's family, the people that have been with me. I want them to win. I've won in the past. This is not for me, this venture. I'm doing this so that shareholders, our staff, because most all, in fact, I'd say all people have some skin in the game, and some piece of the rock with ReferMe IQ. I want them to win. And so if we achieve this, the market wins, my team wins, shareholders win, and then I get to feel really good that I played a role in helping to build something that does some good. So that's the way I think about this. And you need to have those key thoughts in our brains, right? So that when it gets tough, you're like, why am I doing this? Well, that's why I'm doing it. And that
Right.
becomes so compelling. You're like, I'll find a way. This takes 10 years. I don't care if it takes 15. Somehow, some way, this is going to work because there's a legit need. We've got a legit solution, and we got folks willing to run hard along the way to get there done. So you couldn't be more right about that, Bailey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me this: if people want to find Refer Me IQ, they want to give it a try, they think it's a good fit for their business, or maybe they want to connect with you, Peter, personally. How do they find you? How do they find your product?
You bet. So simple. They can just go to refermeiq.com, refermeiq.com, and you'll see lots of things there that'll kind of walk you through what you can do and access all sorts of things. We have got lots of free resources there. For example, if you go up to the Resource Center, one of the things I highly encourage people to do is if you go to the Resource Center, you'll see a Refer Me quiz. We have a quiz. It's 10 questions, takes less than 2 minutes, but that will actually rate you on how referable you are and what your chances are of referral success. And that's a really good baseline thing that we encourage people to take as a starting point. Just say, hey, where am I? And it'll help you identify what gaps you might have just as you read the question. So that would be a good start. If from there you want to learn more, demo button is right on the top. Just click on that, get on the calendar of one of our specialists for 10, 15 minutes. They'll get to know you a little bit. You'll get to see the software and what it does. You'll have the chance to kind of push around your use case. So that would be the best way to do that. If you want to cut to the chase and get on one of our specialists' calendars, just send an email to Nick, Nick, at refermeiq.com. That's Nick at refermeiq.com. And if you'd like to interact with me, there's two ways. One, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Everything about me is in there. Just search for Peter S. Velardi, because my son also has the
Hmm.
same name. And you'll think that the picture of him is me, 100 years ago. So it's Peter S. Velardi. That's one way. Or you can just reach out to me directly at Peter at refermeiq.com.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you extending your product to our audience and your time and your expertise, because I know it's hard to accumulate. It's like you said earlier in the podcast, experience is hard to duplicate, right? It's hard to replicate. It's hard to find a replacement for, and business is difficult, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of learned behavior. I say that all the time. businesses learn behavior. You have to find people to learn from. You have to find behavior to mimic that is productive for your business, and you have to find other people that can help you solve problems that we all experience. Referrals being a huge one that everyone talks about. So I appreciate that very much. And kind of the way that we always end the podcast here is, I want to know from your perspective what it feels like to burn the ship and go all in on your business. Right? When you put that entrepreneur hat on for the first time, what is it emotionally that drove you? What is the gratification that you were looking for? What was that experience? What is the culmination of that experience to you, and why should other people seek that out?
Yeah, I love that tagline, incidentally. I've used it in all my years. Forgot the war where they burn the ships, but
Mm,
it's, to me, the word synonymous with that quote is commitment. And there's a quote that's probably a paragraph long called "The Magic of Commitment." I forgot who wrote it, but it's the best paragraph that describes truly what it means to burn the ships and really be committed. But some headlines of that I've always believed in, is that the best way to not achieve your plan A is to have a plan B. And so, what it means to me is that you don't say things like, I'll do this until, or I'll do this if, or I'll do this. It means that to be all in something, once you are, and once you can kind of burn those ships and not have a plan B and take some risk, you cannot achieve a big plan A unless you take some risk. And you can manage that risk, but you've got to do it. But it's, when you've been committed, those of you like me that have been married a long time, you know what a commitment is. Those of you that have had relationships that have gone, beyond careers, you know what commitment is. Those of you that have done anything successful, you know the way that feels. Played on sports teams where you had did two-a-day football in high school, if that was you, where it's like, it's miserable. You're taking salt pills because it's so hot if you live in the South.
oh yeah.
It's like that's a commitment, and you know what that feels like. It means you're not saying, I may do this or I'll do it sometimes. It's like you're either all in or you don't do it. That same way we feel, that commitment, once you do that, the universe is very predictable. If you put out an extremely strong intention, that's only the first part. The second part is you got to flip the switch that you are all in, no matter what happens. Until that horse is legit dead and there's no breath left, it's like you burn the ships. You're either going to do it or you're going to die. That's the way you've got to feel about this. So all of those things, if you put those together, Bailey, that's what burn the ships means to me.
Well, I appreciate you again extending some time and extending your perspective and your point of view. I'm going to try your product. I'm going to give it a try. We're going to try to implement some of it in my team. We're going to see how it works for us. Probably going to ask you some questions with the help of some of the people on your team through that process. But I'm excited about it. Truthfully, I know that this is a problem, and there's not a good way to solve it now just with human interaction, right? Like there has to be some automation, there has to be some technology, and some things that make people's lives easier because our jobs and our industries are tough enough. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your perspective, and I look forward to appreciating the solution as well. If you have anything to leave the audience with, please. But I've checked all of my boxes, and I really do appreciate your time and your passion about your business, my friend.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being a client and let me know how I can help that along in any way. And look forward to working with you and thankful to be here. And I hope both you and I added some value to the audience. The only thing I'll leave people with is my favorite quote, and I don't know who said it, but it's always meant a lot to me because folks listen to these things. I listen to about a podcast a day of some type on health, uh, business, fitness, anything, or just entertainment. And I'm amazed how many people read, listen to podcasts, and then when I ask them, "What did you do with it?" and it's like, "Well, nothing." So there's a quote that I would just kind of put out as a challenge to all of us when we listen to things like this, and that is this, and it's on the plains of hesitation, on the plains of hesitation, lie the bones of those who fail to act. So, all else considered, successful people take action.
Oh yeah.
Not always the right action, often the wrong action, and you got to fail, but taking action is the key. Somehow we got to bridge that gap between an idea, a hypothesis, and success. Step one is not trying to figure everything out, it's start doing. So, on the plains of hesitation lie the bones of those who fail to act. Other than that, thanks so much for having me, and best of success to everybody on the podcast.
Well, thank you, my friend. It means a lot. Burn the ship.